Hello Ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to a 7 Days to Die update video. Yes, now update as in what's going on with the game. Before anyone starts getting crying their eyes out that there's no update for the Ps4 or Xbox. Hold down. I'm going to give you the information direct from the dev's mouth, currently what the situation is. The FunPimps have been going on a promotional spree. They've got their new Alpha 19 out pretty much in the next week or so. They've got their streamers, friends doing weekends and promoting it, and they've been doing some dev streams on a daily basis, more or less, in the last few days. One of these streams, they did speak about what happens with the future of console updates. Now, I've covered the saga and the problems and issues for years now. The biggest update video I did though was about 8 months ago, when we finally got a proper answer about the situation with the 7 Days to Die game and how that FunPimps had bought back the rights and they weren't really going to be taking it forward. In their explanation, they expand on that a little bit, give a few more details, but they also give some vital information about how popular 7 Days to Die is on console. And I think this is really important, hence why I'm going to be a little bit pissed off once you've watched what they've had to say.
We don't just want to, put perfume on a pig and call it gold. We want the game to be a solid gold that's closer to the vision we originally had. And we're getting closer and closer, but the game is basically shy of bandits, legendary items, fixing water tech, and improving random. Yeah, main quest and improving random gen. We think by end of next year we're going to be in a good spot, and we'll be gold on 7 days or close, and 3 years we may add additional content beyond gold. I'd be disappointed if we were still working on it 3 years, because we have not only a new title in the works, but we have something that's in Unreal, but we have another title, idea that we really feel passionate about internal, that is built on the same 7 Days engine. So, yeah, cat explode.
May not want to share everything, but
well, and I'm going to touch on this barely. We get so many texts about, we get so many post responses about console, and if for those of you who haven't seen it, we have made a major official announcement about console. It has a sordid and long history that is too detailed to go into. Basically, Telltale published it. Iron Galaxy worked on it. Telltale went bankrupt. They kept a bunch of our money, and we had to rebid on. We had to auction, open bid against to get our title back on rights on console, and then we didn't really get to see how it was doing financially for almost a year and a half, and it was a long haul, but we made the business move to keep working on PC, and the future looks good for us. We think we're going to get it back on console. We don't know if it'll be current gen or will it be next gen. We almost feel like next gen is a better suited candidate for our game, because it's always been performance challenged. The Xbox Scarlet and the PS5 are a little more in parity with current gen PC. Therefore, we think draw distances, enemy counts, texture quality will be in parity with PC. I personally have a dream, and don't put this on your roadmap, that we port to the next gen consoles. It runs really good. We go gold on PC. We offer crossplay between those someday. I think that would be amazing, and that's what I would love to see on the console. Whether we can do that is a whole nother story. Game development is much harder than folks think. It's it's a lot of work and a lot of hours, but we have a thriving console community. It's still selling well on console. There's still 20,000 people playing a day on console, daily active users, and we can't ignore that, and we don't want to ignore it, but we've been put in it. We're not console developers, and we have to figure out how to expand our business back into that. We had a great thing going, and you know, Keltel broke cadence with that. So please understand that and be patient.
Well, thank you so much.
Enough said about that.
So, there we go. Heard it from the horse's mouth. They're still angling or thinking about only doing it for the next generation. They still think that by the time they go gold at the end of next year, that might be a good time to then start thinking about porting it over as a new game, as a fully fleshed, finished game. There's a good points and bad points to this, and first of all, I think a whole year and a bit before we even see anything close to any info about it coming to console, again, is way too long. At this point, console is 3 years behind PC with updates, 3 years behind with content. I think the FunPimps have got a very narrow-minded view about what's going on. Maybe they feel so hurt and so burnt from their past experiences with Telltale, but they haven't got the vision or the business acumen to really focus and take a look at how they could generate even more money in the future. Instead, they're so focused on just PC, so focused on not bothering their asses in actually sorting something out for console sooner, that it's actually going to harm them more in the long run. So let me explain a couple of things. 7 Days to Die at the moment is £29.99. If you check it out on Steam, the game's only £18.99. Yet it's got 3 years worth of content extra, 4 major updates. That's a hell of a lot of content that's missing, yet Xbox and PlayStation are paying a lot more money for. Now, it's not unusual for Xbox and PlayStation games to be more expensive. Between £5 and £10 is pretty much the norm, although nowadays more and more games companies are starting to put the prices out more or less the same. Usually it's only a £5 increase, very occasionally it will be that 10. Look at games like PUBG, which kept their price the same on console as it was on PC. There's lots of games out there like that nowadays that are doing that. Why? Because this myth that PlayStation and Xbox charge more money for every sale is nonsense. They charge exactly the same amount as Steam. 30% of every single sale goes to them as the storefront. Steam charge it, Xbox charge it, PlayStation charge that same money. Where Xbox and PlayStation do make extra money is because they have extra processes, like certification. It's much more involved than it is on Steam. Updates going processed. Again, it's all much more involved. There's a lot more work to it, and it requires either more manpower, and it does require a little bit more money. Not as expensive as it used to be back in the day on Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. Every single update could cost you up to £5,000 to £10,000. Hence why we never saw that many updates for games. It was only towards the latter half, the ending of the Xbox 360 and PS3's life cycle, we started to get updates more frequently for games. That's because the storefronts, the publishers, Microsoft and Sony, started to reduce the costs of them updates because more and more games were becoming live service. Day one patches and stuff like that as well. Anyway, I don't want to go into that too much, but trust me, I know quite a bit about game development. I mean, I'm not an expert, I'm not a game developer, but I cover so many survival games, so many early access games. I follow everything under the sun. I try and educate myself all the time by following stuff and seeing what it's like for developers. Hence why I've been so critical of the FunPimps in the past. I just feel like they put their head in the sand and they don't necessarily look at the big picture. So that's point number one. If you're gonna carry on selling 7 Days to Die, if you're really telling people for a year and a half we may not get any news, and we're not saying the game will be ready in a year and a half, but it might just be in a year and a half we actually get some news about whether or not a port's going to go to the Xbox or PlayStation version. Bearing in mind they've already delayed going gold a bunch of times and they've already spent like 6 years working on the game, I think you need to reduce that price. I think a goodwill gesture and to keep your fan base going and to recognise that it's not a fully complete game and it's a complete lie that it's a full game on console, you should be selling that at half that price. It should be cheaper than the version on Steam for sure. Oh, I'm going to send this to them. I'm actually going to at this video. I'm sure they've seen my name a few times because I'm pretty much the only YouTuber that's critical of them. I don't believe in the sob stories all the time from developers. The FunPimps have made plenty of money, they've grown their studio, they've been able to spend 6 years in early access because they've made so much money. They can fully well recognise what is actually going to help them in the long run. But of course, the money is going to help them in the long run. While they're taking £29.99 and as you heard, still making good sales on a daily basis, they obviously don't give a shit what happens with updates for this game. Not on console anyway. Now on to the second point, and by the way, neither one of them is more important, it's just kind of what's fresh. What happens to all the players that have bought your game over years? What happens to the 15,000 to 20,000 players that are playing 7 Days to Die on a daily basis on console? So for the next year and a half, they're going to be waiting on tenterhooks, hoping that you might actually decide to port it over. And then you're kind of suggesting that you are going to go ahead with that plan and port it over to the next gen only. So by that point, it'll be 4.5 years that console haven't had an update. 4.5 years you've been raking in some money. I'll bet, alright, 18 months you've been the sole person that earns the money from console. And then you're going to expect players to cough up for a brand new version of the game on the next gen. What they should have said in this stream was, we'll be looking really positively as best we can at ways that we can upgrade current console players. It might seem a bit obvious, but it's not a guarantee. There are a few game companies that are doing it at the moment. Microsoft have promised that all their games will be upgradable onto the next gen for absolutely free. There are other big companies out there that are doing it, but not every game developer has committed to this yet. We still don't know enough about the next gen and how that would work. By the science of it, they're pretty much saying that the version that they're going to be putting out, maybe in a year and a half's time, that won't be the same 7 Days to Die game. That will be a new product. So what, console fans now can just go fuck themselves for forever? For 3 years with all the problems and issues, and before even Telltale went under, 7 Days to Die had issues getting their updates out anyway. You're going to just say to people, you're going to have to just wait and see. What they should have done was said they would look at getting it up and running for people. That they would find some way, even if it did cost some money in the end. Maybe there can be a situation where we can pay £5 or $5 for the upgraded version. Or considering the game will probably go up a lot more expensive in that time, they'll actually honour and give the console fans a real go at getting the next generation game for free. If you own 7 Days to Die, you'll be able to take the next console version for free. That is what I think should happen. Why am I not just shouting out and saying, why can't they just update the current one? Well, to be honest, that's probably option number 2. I think there's a lot of benefits to updating the current versions. This idea that everyone's going to be hopping onto a PS5 and a PlayStation Series X is nonsense. 90 million or 100 million PlayStation 4s have been sold. It will take the Xbox Series X and the PS5 years before it even approaches that number, if ever. So 7 Days to Die should probably still get some more knowledge and find that team that I think could do the job for them. If you're getting it done for the Xbox Series X and you're getting it done for the PlayStation 5, chances are it wouldn't be as difficult maybe to get it ready for the next gen, the gen below either. 7 Days to Die is an intensive game, but there's plenty of intensive games out there. Minecraft's pretty intensive in a way. Ark Survival Evolved, Conan Exiles, any open world survival game where you can place base parts, you've got multiple facets like either zombies or dinosaurs or thralls running around, it taxes the system and the memory. And that's what really causes so many issues with these games. It's the memory. So it should be a case of being able to port the game over. And if the next gen have got better memory, it just means you've got better performance. But in theory, it's exactly the same game. The next thing is that FunPimps continuously keep saying that they're not a console developer. Well, it's not completely fucking different, is it? It's still making games. These games can be ported over for console. You're not using something completely alien. The process of making a computer game relies heavily on coding and engineering work, and then simply laying on the artwork and assets on top of that. I'm pretty sure 7 Days uses a mix of Unity and their own hybrid engine, and obviously it's complicated. I'm simplifying stuff, but bear with me. Something that lots of game developers all over the world use for console or PC. So this idea that it's completely impossible for them to learn is nonsense. And if you haven't got the time or the inclination to do it, even though you've just admitted you've got more people playing your game literally on a console right now than you have on PC, the platform you are actively developing for. If you can't do that, FunPimps, you don't want to do that, then find a team that can. They briefly touch on it and say that they could find maybe people with skills to join them on the back end or something. And I think that would be a good approach to go. Being constructive and not just ragging them out. I think if you could find yourself a small team of 5 to 6 people, which is what a lot of companies will have for their console ports, you get them working on it from now. Literally give them the tools to go and do an optimization pass on the coding that's available on PS4 and the Xbox One right now. Get a good engineer involved. I think you could find yourself in a position where you'd be much ahead of the curve. by the time you actually get 7 Days to Die out on gold on PC, you could potentially have that new product or that new updates ready for Xbox and PlayStation within a very short period of time. Instead though, it sounds like they're going to literally wait until they've put it out on PC first and then review what happens with console. And by that point, it would have been, like I said, 4.5 years since console had a last update. So of course they're going to then turn around and say that it's too long, the technology's too new, and they wouldn't be able to do a single job with it. They'll have to sell us a $45, 40 quid brand new game. Agree, disagree with that? If you're a game developer, you know a bit more, correct me if I'm wrong. I know for a fact that port teams that work, big ones, that a lot of them in Europe that I've spoke to in the past, their teams aren't that big. They have maybe 6 to 10 people, possibly 15 depending on how many ports it's going to, and they'll take about 6 to 9 months to get a port over a fairly generic game. Platformers and stuff like that, it's much shorter. You can do the job in 5 to 6 months. More complex games, games like Subnautica in the past, games like Ark and Conan, they have taken at least 6 months, maybe up to a year. And none of these games are perfect, but they're still being ported and worked on. So that's what FunPimps should do. Stop crying your eyes out that you're a PC only developer. Think bigger. Get some people involved, put the job listings up, look actively for some good engineers and get them just working on improving the base game on Xbox and PlayStation right now, which still has so many problems. You don't have to add new content, but it could be a good start. If people could see optimization happening on console versions, it might warrant the game still being sold for nearly double the price. And who knows, if you're optimizing it, you're doing bug performance issues with it, you've got your small team learning how the console versions work every single day better and better, there might be a chance to introduce a few features. You could cherry pick some items from your latest updates. Apparently, as it stands, the last update that was meant to be getting ready, and that was meant to be coming to console, was the bulk of Alpha 16 or Alpha 17, and that was pretty much ready to go. It just needed to be ported over. Progress was steady. Work was already underway. That's what they communicated in the summer before Telltale went bankrupt. So you must have that coding available. If you bought your rights back, you must have access to some of that stuff. It could be 6 months from now, but maybe if you put it out right now, you get people involved, you could get so much more goodwill generated. That's the reason also why you get so many comments and so many negativity on your Twitter and streams, because it has still taken you 8 months to readdress the issue. You talk about console players as if they're a completely alien breed of player, when they're people that are literally playing the game more than the current PC generation. They just want to experience the cool stuff that you've got going on right now. You've got such a dedicated fan base to a game that has never reviewed very well, that has always been a little bit cult status but has sold millions. It is one of the top 10 survival games in my opinion, and it's one of the top 10 survival games for a lot of people that have actually sunk some time into it. It can be done. You can do more. If you've got a port team looking at the game right now on current generation, they could take all that knowledge with them and they could even start working on the next gen upgrade for you. You could still go ahead and put it out on the next generation and still promote it and sell it that it's got much better memory, so you'll have better optimization and view far distance and more zombies on screen and all that. You could still generate even more sales. Even then you could legitimately ask people to cough up a little bit of money extra to pay for an upgraded deluxe version or something like that. You've got to stop thinking that console is just irreparable. Put some money somewhere. Today's video or yesterday's stream really showcases that it's possible. They're making money off of 7 Days to Die on console. The tail end is often where you're not going to make any money. You generate more sales for your game in the first month than you probably will for the next year. That's what normally happens. But time and time again, we're seeing it more and more with lots of games nowadays. They've got live service style things that bring players back, updates that come back. Even the 7 Days to Die developers have pretty much admitted they're going to be working on a new game. So maybe that's why they don't want to bother doing this on the current generation, because they've got another game they want to be working on. But I think it's the wrong approach. This is a live service world. You could keep making money, employ a development team to work specifically on them areas, and you could keep multiple games going and generate loads of money for you. Why not? So there we go. don't expect an update for 7 Days to Die on Xbox or PlayStation for at least the next 2 years, unless anything changes. And even then, its likelihood is it won't be coming to this generation. It'll only be on the next gen, where FunPimps, by the sounds of it, are going to expect you to cough up brand new money, not get any sort of reward for backing the game for so many years. Stop feeling sorry for yourselves, FunPimps. Stop wallowing about 7 Days and Telltale and how they screwed you over. It's time to look ahead. Time to really get someone that knows their shit. Go and talk to other developers that have ported their games across multiple situations. Go and talk to Microsoft. Maybe get a bigger publisher involved, one that is more trustworthy, and see if they'll take the job on if you really don't want to do it. I'm sure you could broker a deal where you can make a lot of money still. I'm JPG, I'll give you my opinion, like it or lump it, whatever. But that's the news currently with 7 Days to Die. I'll be here as always, I'll keep you guys in the loop, but I'm not expecting any other big reveals about console now for another year or so.